Good day and welcome back to the Ask Pastor Law podcast. Yes, we're here again. I mentioned to you that a challenge we started almost a month ago about how out of touch or not parents are in the 21st century. And I, put out a request or a challenge, as I kind of hinted, that people should come on and prove me wrong or prove me right. And up till this moment, I've only had a young parent came, my son, my eldest son, and my nephew. So we've had two attempts at, making a case about the out of touch, parents being out of touch and all that. And I didn't want to close this challenge because I just felt that we needed someone, perhaps in my kind of era or demographic, that will bring wisdom to this topic. And like I said, when I had Ed and Zach, I found someone, or I should say the person found me. Either way, it's going to be a blast. And I'm so grateful that we have an opportunity to do this. Without further ado, I'm going to invite our guest to the broadcast, Pastor Sam. Pastor Sam, welcome to the broadcast.
Yes, good day to you, wherever you are. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, so you kind of had that little intro, and besides, you know about the challenge, hence the reason why we're here. And before we go, deep into the discussion, I want you to let our community to know who you are, and just anything that you feel will be relevant for this subject matter. Okay, thank you.
Yes, as said earlier, my name is Sam Adewumi. I'm part of the community, so I don't know whether I'm speaking to myself or I'm speaking to other people, but I'm surely glad that I'm here, and thank you for the challenge. I kind of invited myself because when I saw that no one was coming up for the challenge, I said, I can try. And I called in. I remember watching the first one with Ed and then the last one with Zach. And I felt that both of them, perhaps because of the relationship that they have with you, uh, they were a lot kinder. So I guess I'll have the same uh, uh, today. You'll be kind on me as well. Yeah. So I'm ready, and I think I have a few things to share. My contribution is my opinion. I don't think it is in any way to mean that other people that have said different things or have different opinion are wrong, but that's my opinion that I want to be able to bring in. And if you find any help in it, then that's fine. I've achieved my purpose. I've been part of the community once it's launched a few years ago, but going back to several years ago, I've been very keen to learn stuff about how we engage the virtual community. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this.
Okay, so I'm glad, and I'm glad that you feel at home. Not that this is the platform to make boast on how blessed I've been under your mentorship over these years. It's been a long time. So when you reached out and said, yeah, okay, bring it on, I was so excited. And I made that clear to you when we engaged, a few days ago. So you do know about the challenge, and yes, you're very right. You've been with this platform since its launch and prior. So we speak the same language when it comes to safety for our kids on all fronts. Albeit I'm only targeting the online platform. So Ed and Zachary touched on a lot of things during their sessions, and I was keen because it just felt like I was the only one representing the older folk, which was a shame because I knew there were many other people who were pointing hands when they were watching the YouTube video, but they were just not bold enough to sit in front of a camera. Here we are. So I know that culture is a thing for parents and anyone who was born in the 60s and maybe edging into the 70s. That culture was is and was big, to us. And for many, it's very difficult to break off culture because culture has helped in our growth and upbringing. And the virtues that are associated with aligning with culture, they're everywhere, and everyone can see it, which is the reason why I presented to Zachary and Ed that you may have some parents who feel safer sticking to what they know. And as we know that the trends and the culture of the 21st century is supremely different from what we, at least I can say it with some confidence, you and I grew up in and with. And so I suppose the community will want to know what your take is on that issue. Why would any young person, why would any millennial claim that a dad in the 21st century or a parent in the 21st century is outmodish or out of touch? I suppose you can speak to that.
Yes, thanks for bringing that. I think when we talk about culture, um, I think it will largely relate to the migrant community. As I see, even those that were born here, the older generation has not embraced the technology as much as the younger generation. So, work culture, when we talk about those that are born in this environment, I think culture, if you look at culture, it then means that we have alienated those that are second, third generation in this country, for instance, or in the West, where the exposure to technology is a lot higher than those of us that have come from other parts of the world. So culture in that regard will relate more to those of us that are migrants into this country, so that our children are kind of the first generation in this country. So you will lose a number of your audience if we are not careful, because they don't have the issue of culture, because they were born here several years ago, yet they have not embraced the technology as much as the younger ones. So while that is valid, and I'm going to address that, I think on a broader level, we might be addressing generation um, in that regard. So once you now understand the attitudes related to each generation, then you will know that this has little to do with culture. It's about the generation. I don't know whether I'm making sense.
Yes, you are. Yes.
Yeah. So, but coming to culture, yes, I saw computer the first time. I think I was 26. So even though we did computer science, and I wonder what did we learn about computer science? Some of my colleagues at work, and I want to be careful so that if they are listening, they don't think I'm picking on them. Some of my colleagues at work actually got a degree on computer science from Africa, and I that haven't got any degree or anything certificates or in computer science end up teaching them. So I think yes, those of us that were not born into that generation, we will struggle, whether it's West or from Africa or diaspora or a migrant. So, but then you now say, okay, those who are in Africa, their children are born in Africa, they are still in Africa, you still find the same problem. So it won't be an issue of culture anymore because they are in the same country. It will then be an issue of generation, coming back to the issue of generation. So I think
Yeah.
the main thing is generation, not simply the culture. I know a lot of Africans, and I come from Nigeria, and I'm proud to be a Nigerian. Uh, when I see the gap between the younger ones and the older ones when it comes to tech, is still very wide, even though they are in the same culture. So our children will need to understand that maybe it goes beyond culture because some of us have embraced it, some have not. I don't know whether that makes sense in that
No,
regard.
no, it does. It does. And I think we covered, when I spoke to, I think particularly Zachary, we talked about the generational barriers and what that can do. And you've broadened it a bit more, and I can see that being a sticking point. So to stick to our script, and this is me now driving, to stick to the
Mm.
script, so that the community know, are you like me saying that we're not out of touch, talking about parents, the old age pensioners are we
Mm.
out of touch? And if your answer is yes, explain why. If it's no, then let's make a case, because I think we may miss the trick, because we're telling the community, especially what the younger ones, we're telling them what they don't know, which is useful. But let's address the question and see perhaps where you are going to, what angle you're going to come from.
Okay, yeah. I'm trying to be careful not to sit on the fence, but I think it would not be true for everyone. A large percentage, yes, we're out of touch, but I'm going to address that in a minute. I think is again coming back to our exposure. If we knew as much as, or if we had the opportunity as much as we now have, especially those of us that are in the West, I think a lot of people will have adapted or changed. But that aside, there are still a number of people that they are not anti, they are not against technology, but they don't find much use for it. So if they find use for it, then they will embrace it. So the answer will be yes, we are out of touch, but also not everybody's out of touch, if that makes sense. So, and then we can now look at why are we out of touch, and I think I've said that in my comment. Possibly because we at the time we lacked exposure, maybe a lot will have embraced it more. And secondly, we don't see the use or the value to it. And a number of us are struggling to understand it as well, so even those who want to embrace it. So I've just abandoned it. It's too much worry to learn and this and that. Where am I going to start from? So there will be a number of reasons that may attribute to the yes, we're out of touch, but not everybody's out of touch. So we can then begin to address all those other issues and see whether it's valid, and then our young ones can actually maybe have sympathy, compassion on us because of our reasons if they find it valid. Yeah.
And I totally agree. I know that I took a stance that I'm not out of touch. And I said that based on my desire and opportunity to engage with modern culture, tech, trends, and all that. that's a decision I've made. And I love the fact that you've introduced a lot of balance, because when a young person just simply points a finger, parents are out of touch, they don't know what they're doing. I think there's a huge case for holding on to some of the values or some of those old things that we used to do, because there's still safety in them. In fact, because I know there's some parents who still are in that situation, who have refused to transition because they don't see anything, they don't see anything better than what they know. At the least, they will just be getting a bit of tech. So they'll get a phone, maybe just know how to use the phone to make calls. When you think about it from a functional standpoint, a phone is just designed to make calls. If you want to do things on the computer, then do things on the computer. You have people who are like that. And I feel that the young folks, who I tend to call millennials, because not all young ones are saying this, but particularly the millennials who, for some reason, have labeled us outmodish. And I shouldn't generalize, but at least a few that I know have said that we are out of touch to a large extent, and they don't want to be on camera to make that case. So I'll make the case for them. Ultimately, they're saying that we don't want to be drawn in to any modern discussion in that sense, because we'll expose lack of information or a lack of knowledge and skills. And I've said it boldly on the platform that parents are often intimidated with tech, because tech moves so fast. At least in our own time, and I say that boldly, when change came, it came, at a snail's pace. You didn't have things transitioning so quickly, So I'm glad that you mentioned balance. And in fact, when I spoke to Zachary, I should stop speaking because you're the guest. When I pulled Zachary in,
It's okay.
Zachary did say, because I asked him, so if we're out of touch, how can you help us? So perhaps at this point, I'll ask you, based on what you know, and I know you're not sitting on the fence, but at least you know a lot about both camps. What will you say a typical parent or OAP will need to do, to, we talked about bridging gaps when I spoke to Ed and Zach. How do the older community, the OAPs, how do they bridge the gap, or do they have to, in your own opinion?
I like the word "do they have to" because it was coming to mind. Okay, because I'm a pastor, and I know you are too, and maybe some of our community they believe as well. Um, these things go wrong. It's very clear scripture that says there's nothing new on earth. So we are kind of saying as we are not in touch, we are out of touch. A few years down the line, the generation Alpha that they're having parents' evening online. That's what's happening now. There's no need for you to come to the office. The parents' evening is now online. They are going to come and tell the Gen Z or the millennials that, listen, you are out of touch. So it goes round. We said the same thing to our parents, and our parents probably said it to their parents. So we know this is not going to stop with us. In as much as we make effort to engage and understand where they are and where they are coming from, I think we can only do as far as we are interested. So you can't push too far. Otherwise, what you'll be doing is to come to your generation in that regard. So I'm asking for number one, understanding. Understand that we are not against tech, but because we were not born into it, we are going to have to learn a, I don't know whether a hard way will be the right word, it's not going to be as easy as those who are born into it. So that's number one, understanding. Number two is you're not going to get everybody to engage at your level. So patience this is another one. You got to be patient with parents. That look, when you mention even the simple things as woke, some parents don't know what that means. You see, when you say cancel culture, what's that? But when you explain them, they are actually something that they understand. It's just that the language is different.
Yeah, the lingua is
Uh,
different. Yeah.
yeah. So who doesn't know that to be woke means to be sensitive to the biases,
Mm.
negativities, and that's what it means.
Yeah.
And when I say some things when my children are around, they are wondering, how did you know that? Where did you get that from? So they don't expect you to know that much, but we are making effort. So number one is understanding, to at least know that we are of different generations. Number two is to be patient. So some are making effort. If a child wants their parents to understand where they're coming from when they do certain things, they need to help them in that regard.
Yeah.
Mom, okay, this is why this is because of that. But to just assume you're too old, you're all HPs, you don't get it, and all that, I think it won't help. So, in answer to that question, the first two things they need to do is to be able to um, be understanding and be patient.
Patient.
The next thing you need to do is to find the parents on their level to educate. So, where we feel that you're spending too much time on these things, you need to be able to tell us I'm spending more time on it because otherwise it will be too slow. So if I want to read on my Amazon, what's it called now? Um,
Kindle.
Kindle,
Mm.
why do you want me to carry books? Okay. But the parents only see them on that tablet. The parents think they are playing. The parents think they are not doing stuff. But they are because but the parents expect them to carry the big books or to go on the computer. Things have changed. So a child or the younger ones, and I'm not meaning child as in a bad way. The
Mm.
younger ones need to say, no, 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 that's not what you think. This is what I'm doing, and bring the parents in gradually in that regard. But some of us are making serious efforts to get to that level. But I don't think because as soon as we are catching up with them on one level, things are already going to a different level. They told me that Facebook is for old people, as funny as that is. But when they want to buy car, they go on Facebook Market to buy car. So um, I know that they pick and choose what they do wherever they go. But again, we are not anti. Some of us are not anti. Maybe that's a generalization. Again, you don't want to generalize. We said that before. Um, some of us are trying, but we need um, understanding, patience, and some education for those who are embracing technology. I don't know whether that's what
It,
the answer.
it absolutely helps, and it's quite clear. And I know you kind of hinted that the parents who have made the choice not to over engage, at least that's what I picked up. But there are parents who outrightly refuse to acknowledge or adapt to the trends of what we call the 21st century. And that perhaps is the reason why the younger folk are claiming that those parents or those older ones are out of touch in some context. However, it's important to consider individual circumstances and reasons behind the choices the old folks make. Now I'm speaking to the millennials who would no
Yeah,
doubt watch this. some parents might or may have valid reasons or concerns or personal reasons for not embracing, certain trends. Certainly, from a spiritual standpoint, if you have you have a parent who feels that there's too much filth on the internet, why would he or she go and stew on that platform where there's danger? So we see that, and we see how difficult that will be for an old folk to transition to what the young ones will call the modern times. But there has to be open communication. There has to be an understanding between what you refer to generations, and that's the only way we bridge the gap, and foster mutual respect, for the different perspectives that we have. So I totally agree that be the case. So
Yeah. For sorry, Pastor Lawrence. For me, I think the people around me, I don't know whether that's by accident or by choice. People around me, even those that are older than me, they are engaged. So if I say anything on behalf of those who are not engaged, it will be information that I picked up from, again, online and maybe other sources. I think in this Western region, there's no way you can really, um, what's the right word? There's no way you can draw the optimally, yeah, what you need without engaging. Because information is not only in one place now. To get the complete picture, the complete image, you got to go here and there.
yeah,
But so what we do now is, for me, if I need certain information, I know where to go. I know what app to use, and I think that's what it is. I don't think in this part of the world, I don't think you will find as many as in percentage as 20% against technology. Is the problem is there's too much to learn and too many of them
yeah,
to engage. So I mean, because I'm aware a little bit, I only have um, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, LinkedIn, WhatsApp.
well, you have them all.
That's it.
Okay, well,
That's
that's
it for me.
yeah. TikTok is too
The
busy.
rest of them,
Yeah, too
yeah, the
busy.
rest of them, I mean, I find it's just another app doing almost the same thing. Um, and of course, you know that the young ones will be on TikTok. And so if I want to know about them, I'll go on TikTok. I will read TikTok messages, but I don't have a TikTok myself. So that's the reason why there's too many things to learn, too many apps, and they are creating more. Okay, yes, I have X as well. So yeah, so I follow a lot of people, and I don't care who follows me because I don't post, I don't tweet anything. But
If anything, we use the
also,
platform for business purposes. Yeah,
exactly. I'm on YouTube because YouTube now is more social media than just a storage of videos and all that.
yeah,
So when I go there, I see, okay, this one I like it. I'll subscribe and press the bell. So I will get when there's new videos coming in. So those are the areas that I think the younger ones need to know. There's too many of them to even, for somebody like me, my reason would just be that. But I'm willing to still learn, but I probably will not engage on the level that they will expect that people like me will engage.
yeah, yeah. It's frightening to think that technology can go, because when you look at at world advancements, how we've advanced. I was having a discussion with an acquaintance in the marketplace, and he really broke down how things have moved on. That it was
mm,
because of World War I and World War II that a lot of changes came to our world, the primitive world that we had, when there was
mm,
so much destruction and we all had to rebuild. That introduced the whole world to new things, and technology took off. And of course, further on, the internet was introduced, and that just took it exponentially up. Now we hear, well, AI is here. We hear of quantum energy or science or whatever it is. But I mean, just the thought of it. I'm trying to put our granddaughter in in this world. If she looks back, or at whatever time she becomes young enough to appreciate the internet, how outmodish the internet will have been when she has that opportunity, because things will move.
mm. Yeah.
We laugh when we see. I don't know whether you've seen, and this is just my world. Have you seen the there's this equipment that they have that you can it's a jet, it's like a jet ski, but it's one of those ones you hold, and it will produce downward force with the water, and then it puts you in the air, you fly, from one
Yes.
point to
Yes.
one point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
You know, if you watch movies too, you see a lot of things that are suggested in movies that our world could
Yes.
become technologically. So we're
Yeah. I
all
mean,
going to be.
that's what's happened because all the tech that was used in James Bond's films
Yeah,
that we never thought is going to become a reality is what we are experiencing now. So that's not.
exactly.
Pastor, this one. I mean, you are more into it than I am. I think very soon AI will be relevant because I understand that there's AR coming if it's not already here, artificial reality. So I think that's being pushed now. Although, of course, because we are still not, we haven't used AI to its max. So why introduce AR? So I think what you're saying, yes, your granddaughter may be engaged more when the AR is fully evolved than those who are even the Gen Z. So it will keep happening.
It will. It will.
Again, it will keep, so those of us that are crying now that well, those young people that are crying out that their parents are out of touch, their children is going to say, "How
be
did you survive?"
be careful. Be careful what you wish for. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. How did you survive in
because
this?
we thought okay, virtual reality now. Everybody have their own land. You can build. You can have your business. You can do all that. But I don't know whether that's still anything. But AI is taking over everywhere, and AR is coming. to,
It.
yeah. So
You're absolutely right. And in fact, we talk about even money, Pastor Sam.
yeah,
Money. Do you know? I
yeah,
can't
yeah,
remember the last time I held cash.
yeah,
And I know
yeah,
these things seem petty, but I've not held a £5 note or £10 note. In fact, I don't even know whether there's anything bigger than £50. But
yeah,
the in our time, you needed money. They will put
yeah,
lots of money in your hand, and you feel you own something. But
yeah,
things have just moved on. And so I
yeah,
suppose we're speaking to the younger ones, because I know we've kind of addressed and begged them to bridge the gap. But the young ones, before go in a haste to to tell your old uncle or your dad, be careful, be careful,
yeah,
because you are going to be out of touch very soon
yeah,
too. And that's
yeah,
something that has just happened, and we've seen it unravel all through the
yeah,
years. Okay, I
yeah.
I I,
I,
I don't know.
I can still say that yeah, those that are not as engaged, we need to speak to them as well because they may be missing out, especially those that either for valid reasons they've just totally abandoned um, looking into it, or maybe as we started with, maybe their tradition, culture, have meant that many years ago there was a an anti-TV campaign by a very popular religious organization. I said TV is of the devil because of the filth that comes out of TV. But hey, the people that started TV didn't intend it to be like that.
Exactly.
How big things have taken over and it might have been used for filth. But they now realize that to be able to reach people in the world, they need to get into TV. So they started to minister and stream on TV.
Yeah.
So what the parents are saying that oh maybe because there's a lot of filth on these platforms, don't let's go there. They need to understand that it wasn't meant to be. Facebook when they created it was to communicate between the students.
Yeah.
Um, Face your book. That's what it is. So, but I've now taken it and used it to do several other things that was not the intention of the creators of those platforms. So instead of throwing out the baby with the bathwater, let's get rid of the bathwater and keep the baby. And let's ask those young people, help us to understand what you're doing and where you are at. And we will make effort. Even if you're not perfect, make effort. And as I said earlier on, the younger people need to come on the other side. You are right. I was speaking to somebody yesterday that I went all the way to Croydon to get a checkbook signed. They say, are people still using checkbooks these days? And I'm sure my children don't even know what
I
checkbook
don't know
is.
what it is.
They
Yeah.
don't know what to sign. What
Wow.
are you doing with this checkbook? But people need to understand that even checkbook now you can put it in the bank from your phone.
Yeah.
Just take a picture and then like you deposit the money. So things are improving on a daily basis. I would advise you, Pastor Lawrence, don't go out without notes in your pocket. I
Okay.
got this advice a few years ago and it's helped me because you will be stranded. There's no internet connection and you need to make a purchase or something and you don't have any money on you. So I make it a habit. £10 is always on me.
Yeah.
So I see a beggar that needs help. I'm not going to be transferring money. I just need to be able to, I don't want to walk away with guilt that I'm not able to help them because I don't have the money. So I keep
Fantastic.
that in my pocket. Just that £10. You will always find it in my pocket. So we can't delete those things as long as they are still around whilst we embrace new technology because both of them still for the younger generation, for the older generation, they are both valid. I think that's the point I want to make.
That's awesome, and thank you for that huge advice. In fact, full disclosure, I went to buy fuel. You know, with the way these supermarkets are, well, vendors are selling petrol, you could have 151 in one place, and then you have perhaps 150, 160 somewhere else. And I
Mm.
traveled to a particular station where I know that they have a lower lower rate, only to
Yeah.
get there and they didn't have contactless. So mine was not
Wow.
so much that they didn't have contact and I only had my phone. I didn't have my
Yeah.
wallet, nothing, you know.
Yeah.
But thankfully I had enough, you know, I had enough in the car to get to get to the house.
I
But
hope it wasn't a full tank. Oh, you
well,
okay? You are not filled your tank before you went to pay.
no, no.
What
In
if you
fact,
did?
well, thankfully, it, it was one of those. It was one of those Asdas. I know we digress, but perhaps the story needs to end. But
Yes.
it's one of those, drive-throughs at Asda that
Yes.
you can just go and pay. So there's no teller. There's
Ah,
no,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Before you start to fill, so you
before
gotta
you
pay.
fill, you have to swipe, and because I didn't have
Yeah.
the contactless, I couldn't do that. But well, the point has been made that there's a lot of virtue in sticking with what you know, because
Yes.
the person I mentioned who I had the conversation with in the marketplace. Marketplace is work.
Yes.
He mentioned that if and someone has said this, and it seems very far fetched, but if a comet or whatever they say comes and destroys all the infrastructure we know to use to engage online, you know, how would we survive? And he
Yeah.
said that he believes that the older folk will be more resilient than the younger folk. And I say
Yeah.
that right why that resonates with me. There was a time we had an outage, what we are so used to back home. But there was an outage that happened, power outage that happened in our region here. And the panic that went through the whole community here
Mm.
was shocking, you know? And that's because they've come to be dependent on it being there's light every time or all the time,
Yeah.
you know. So what do you do when the things that you have warmed up to, things that you feel you cannot do without, what do you do? Can you adapt, you know? So that advice on carrying some notes in the pocket, it's a useful advice, and I can see how that, you know, would hold me in good stead.
Yeah.
Pastor Sam, it's been a blast. I know that time is not a friend, but I'm so grateful for your company this evening. Would you want to say a few words before we close off? Parting
Yeah.
words, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I thought I did that, but without knowing.
You did, but yeah,
Okay.
I want to milk you some more.
Those old folks don't throw out the baby with the bath water.
I agree.
Throw away the bath water and then keep the baby.
Okay.
Embrace as much as you can. If you don't understand, ask those young folks. I think they are willing to teach us as well. On the other side, those young folk need to understand that we are from different generation. We need them to have that understanding. Secondly, to be patient and also to educate us. So then we'll be at least on a level, maybe not on the same level, but at least we will have engaged better. There's no perfect one. Those of us that are older think, I don't know how you guys survive with the exposure that you have to all this field. We didn't have all that. So we actually, in a way, pitying you for that much which has been thrown at you. And so you then say, okay, you don't know what you are doing because you are on dinosaurs. You are too slow for us. So we need to both understand from either side and take advantage of whatever is available to us. So it's been wonderful being here as well. Yeah, keep watching and hey, press the button, subscribe, and yes, press the bell. You'll
Yes.
get good stuff that will help you. It's a good platform to be, and I can't say that enough. Thank you for having me.
No worries. Thank you so much, Pastor Sam. Thank you so much. That means the world to me. And needless to say, it's been awesome to have Pastor Sam this evening. You see, we've moved round and about certain areas, but both generations, the millennials and the OAPs, have their unique challenges and advantages. Social, economic factors, technological advancements, cultural changes, they've all shaped the opportunities and experiences of individuals differently across these periods. Each generation faces its own set of circumstances and societal shifts. These things influence our overall well being. And so it's essential to consider various factors and avoid generational or generalizations. Don't generalize things unnecessarily when comparing different generations. Okay? I hope you've benefited from this discussion. I've been your host. Until next week, God bless and goodbye.